G'day ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Bitcoin update. Unfortunately, I'm not at the office today, of course. I'm in a separate location. I'm actually interstate, traveling right now on some business meetings kind of thing. And I just thought I'd give you a quick update on the Bitcoin situation. I obviously don't have my laptop with me, but I can do the best I can from my phone. And so we'll show you a few charts today just regarding short-term updates on Bitcoin, medium-term updates on Bitcoin, and also a brief long-term update on Bitcoin. I've got a few charts I want to show you, and then also a few saved photos I want to actually walk you through as well. So without further ado, let's try our best to get into the charts. You're gonna have to ignore some of the sloppiness today. Unfortunately, that's just how it's gonna be from the phone, but let's get into it, guys. So obviously the short-term analysis on Bitcoin right now, and even medium-term analysis, can be best described as slightly lackluster and slightly boring, right? There's not really too much we can talk about in regards to it. Obviously, we've come ahead and dropped down from these two solid yellow lines. As you can see, those yellow lines are uptrending from 2023, early 2023, all the way through to March and all the way through to a few of the formations we had. As you can see on the screen, we had a red descending wedge formation. We broke that to the upside, but we did have a brief wick downwards before we did so. And right now we've done kind of the same thing. We had a descending wedge formation. We actually broke it to the downside instead. We came all the way down and we tested this green box. Now, what we do know, guys, is that this green box, if we're zooming out on the screen, this green box is kind of the foundation of kind of the bull market. That is where the bull market was held for a long period of time. It's also where, as you can see, we rejected 2 times in the bear market. Looking back here in July, where I'm zooming in July 2022, we rejected from that green box, and over here as well in February 2023, we rejected from that green box before finally breaking upwards. And as you can see, we saw a nice little support flip on that green box in June 2023. Right now, we've come back down, and we're testing it right now. We've kind of wicked into it for support. We're testing it, we're trying our best to hold it, but it's not really guaranteed as to whether we'll hold it or not at this point in time. Unfortunately, short-term analysis is very difficult to do on a device like this, but from what I understand of a short-term right now, we're just in a horizontal range. It's rarely looking into things like medium-term and long-term where we can get a good idea of what the macro structure looks like and what is actually more likely and what the two scenarios are. So we'll go ahead and do that now. We'll start by looking at something like the weekly candle close. Now, as you can see here on the weekly chart, and you might remember, guys, I discussed how important this weekly candle close was quite a lot, actually. But as you can see on the weekly chart, we've got that red line, the dividing line, I like to call it, right, between kind of that bear market range and the current range we're in now, which is just above that bear market range. Unfortunately, I don't have a brush. I can't really use a brush right now, but you can see kind of that M formation, as you can see in zoom up, which is kind of bearish, right? A double top formation forming. And if we drop below 24.3K on the weekly candle and close below that level, that's when we get a confirmation of that actually being a double top, and that's when we get a confirmation of that potentially being really bad for Bitcoin. Now, unfortunately for Bitcoin, we failed to get above the bull market support band. As we know, bull market support band on weekly chart is extremely important. This is something that we held throughout the entirety of the 2017 bull market. We rejected from throughout the entirety of the 2018 bear market. And we did the same thing over and over again in 2021, right? We found this for support on multiple occasions, found it for resistance on multiple occasions in 2022. We found it for support on the way up throughout the entirety of this year. And now we've actually lost that, and that's not good. We saw a very strong bearish engulfing weekly candle, massive, downside price action, losing that bull market support band. Luckily for Bitcoin, and I suppose luckily might be slightly the wrong word, but I suppose one of the underlying, reassuring factors in this loss of the bull market support band, which is otherwise very bearish, is the fact that we do sometimes fake out below it and above it. For example, one example would be over here in 2022. As you can see, we had a downwards trend during the bear market. We faked out 2 weekly candle closes above the bull market support band, and then we came right back down. You can see it was clearly a fake out. There is a slight chance we do that again, especially considering the strength of the support at 24.5K. All right, we definitely can do that again. It's not off the table entirely. If we start getting like this weekly candle close as well, below it with lower lows, that's when we start losing the possibility of that. But right now, it's not the end of the world that we've lost it, okay? And this is kind of the overlying premise of this video. Right now, Bitcoin is in a bad position, but it's not the end of the world because we haven't lost the major foundational support yet. So it's an unconfirmed bad. I guess that's the way you can look at it. If we're looking at things like Gaussian channel, we'll bring it up right now. You can see it's kind of the same story. Yeah, we've dropped back into the Gaussian channel. That's not particularly good, but we haven't lost the central line of the Gaussian channel. And the central line of the Gaussian channel supports that 24.5K level. So that's kind of the overarching point that I'm trying to make here. It's like Bitcoin, it's on thin ice. And Ethereum, something I want to actually look at quickly is, now you might think, Wolf, why are you looking at the Ethereum chart? This has nothing to do with Bitcoin. Well, I'll tell you why I'm looking at the Ethereum chart, and I think it actually does have quite a bit to do with Bitcoin. Unfortunately, I don't have a brush, but I'm gonna have to zoom in and show you exactly what I'm looking at here. I'm zooming on this level here, on this support line retest we had for Ethereum. We perfectly retested this yellow support line and bounced strongly. Now, at that period of time, Bitcoin was not quite on support yet, but Bitcoin also bounced. Now, what this indicates for us is that the Ethereum bounce actually led to the Bitcoin bounce, and that Ethereum has a certain amount of weight in directing Bitcoin. If Ethereum is on support, Bitcoin is likely to be on support too, even if we can't actually see it. Okay, so right now we have Ethereum on a very strong horizontal support level. In fact, it's exactly the same support level that we tested on that yellow line. So Ethereum's on support, Bitcoin is in horizontal range. What this means is that if Ethereum breaks down from support, we can be very confident that Bitcoin will as well. And if Ethereum breaks down from support, we can be very, very confident that Bitcoin can go down and test that 24.5K level. So Bitcoin breaking down as of right now on an immediate level would not be the end of the world, but it would be a sign we'd be retesting 24.5K, and 24.5K is really the level we need to hold. The point is we have a little bit of wiggle room, but not too much. And overall, if we do break down from a short-term level, it will be a very rapid descent, 24.5K. That's all we can really say about it. Unfortunately, saying, oh, what's likely, what's not likely, it's just too hard to do from a cell phone, unfortunately. And it's also, I just haven't done the adequate analysis for it. And I don't think it really exists either. I think it stands to reason that the macro structure is still intact. We're still in a macro upwards trend. We've still got higher highs and higher lows until we break 24.5K. So it's very hard to flip macro bearish. I'm certainly not macro bearish. Medium term is a little bit up in the air, and short term, I just haven't done enough analysis for. But I can still give you the scenarios. The scenarios are very clear, right? If we get above bull market support band on weekly chart on Bitcoin, that labels this as a fake out, and that labels Bitcoin as bullish again. And if we drop below 24.5K on the weekly chart, that labels Bitcoin as very bearish again, because we'll be dropping back into the bear market range. Unfortunately, we have the S&P chart here that is adjusted for the money supply, okay? So adjusted for the money supply, showing us that, the S&P has actually been unable to make new highs since 2020 before the COVID drop. In fact, it's rejected, and this is a triple top coming in now, which is not particularly good at all, and that would potentially be very bearish for the S&P. And we do know that right now, the Bitcoin and S&P correlations are very low. However, they can very easily shift back upwards. So overall, it's not favorable for the S&P to go downwards for Bitcoin. Even though the correlation isn't there right now, it can come back. And if we do see a strong downwards trend on something like the S&P, it does stand to reason that Bitcoin could be in danger of breaking below 24.5K. Right now, we've seen the start of a potential downwards trend for the S&P, so that's not particularly good. And then we have the Bitcoin halving timeline. I'm just going to give you a little macro perspective using this chart today. It's a little bit easier. And what I usually do, what you can see is that we have the halving at the start of the yellow box, and that's the historical halvings. And in the purple box, at the end of the purple box, you can see 365 days after the halving. We generally see massive gains after a year between the halving and, a year after the halving, really. I mean, huge amount of gains there. So, the halving, when is it? Well, it's in April 2024. So we can, generally speaking, we can expect to see the big gains on Bitcoin in terms of the bull market start after April 2024. That's when the bull market really starts to kick off. A few months after the halving is when the bull market really starts to kick off. We've seen that historically. We can expect to see that again. I think regardless of what happens here with Bitcoin, with something like 24.5K, I think that's still the likely scenario, because you have to remember, right? The 4-year cycle doesn't care about 24.5K. The 4-year cycle cares about the date range trend. And the date range trend says that the bottom was in Q4 2022. And so provided we don't make a new low, provided Bitcoin remains above 15.4K, that was still the 4-year cycle predicting that bottom. So the only thing that needs to happen for Bitcoin to maintain its long-term macro structure in terms of 4-year cycle, which is bullish, would be stay above 15K. And right now that's kind of out of the question. It's very, very far away. Obviously losing levels like 24.5K doesn't help us, because it increases the chance that something like 15K would be lost. But I'm just reminding you that overall, it's not the 4-year cycle that cares about 24.5K. It's us, right? And it's us from a medium-term perspective. It's us from a perspective of what are we going to do over the next 6 months? What are we going to do over the next 9 months? It's not from a perspective of what we're going to do over the next 4 years. They're very, very different things, and you need to be able to separate. Yeah, guys, so I know videos from the phone are always a bit rough, because I obviously just can't really analyze properly from a phone, but overall I just want to go over some of the main points we made. The main points we made are this. The weekly candle was bearish, okay? It's not the end of the world yet, because we have seen fake outs below things like the bull market support band, and we are still technically holding the Gaussian channel, but it was a bearish weekly candle close. If we get above the bull market support band on the next weekly candle close or the one following, it's very, very good for Bitcoin because it labels this entire move as a fake out to the downside. So our target really on a weekly level would be getting back above bull market support band. If, however, we drop below 24.5K on the weekly, that's probably a sign for you to start, really de-risking properly on Bitcoin and actually start taking potentially, bearish positions, short positions, etc. like that from medium-term perspectives, because we really don't want to be seeing a drop for any extended period of time below 24.5K. Perhaps we see a liquidity wick. As of right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum are resting on horizontal support zones above their major supports. So Bitcoin's in 26K, its major support is 24.5K. Ethereum's in a similar position. So we've got a little bit of wiggle room, but ultimately we are on thin ice, and that's kind of the overarching premise for Bitcoin. But I want to remind you that regardless of what happens here, the macro structure is still intact until it's not. Obviously, if we drop into, low 20Ks, we can start to predict maybe a drop below something like 15.4K and start to predict a break of the 4-year cycle. But you have to remember the 4-year cycle is a lot stronger than 24.5K. So I think that's something that's worth noting. I think everyone who's calling for 10K, 8K, 3K Bitcoin is still a little bit early. I just don't think we have the data for that. We haven't even reversed the macro upwards trend yet. We haven't lost 24.5K yet. If we do, obviously that becomes more valid, but you have to trust the charts and you have to say what's valid, not what you think, right? Speculation means nothing. Charting validation means a lot. So guys, without further ado, I'll end the video there. Check out the BitGet Exchange, check out Crypto Academy if you want to learn how to trade. All that information is below. VIP group if you want to trade altcoins with me on Telegram. So you've got the referral link for BitGet down there, the website for Crypto Academy, the VIP group joining information link, and showing you what it's about and the results in their 79% win rate. It's all in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.